Well, the wait and speculation is now over. Last night's budget was released by Labor, and there's some fairly serious tax reforms going on there. The budget really centered around how investments are held and the tax implications of those. What we're going to go through today is what's changed, what hasn't changed, how that's going to affect investors, and really how it's going to affect the market overall. So the things that haven't changed is there's been no changes to anything surrounding new property investments. If you own a new property or you're looking to purchase a new property, well, capital gains tax hasn't really changed. You still get the 50% capital gains tax discount, and also you can still claim negative gearing as well. So all tax deductions, capital gains tax, etc., still remains the same for brand new property. Where the big changes have been made is in relation to secondhand, or some people refer to as established property investments. Now, what's changed there is no longer are you able to claim negative gearing on a second-hand property. So effectively what they're saying is tax deductions, claims are not available on second-hand properties. Now, the further to that as well is the capital gains tax implications have also changed around second-hand properties as well. No longer are you able to claim the 50% capital gains tax discount on a second-hand property when you go to sell it. Okay, so how's this going to affect the investor? Well, if you own new property, it will not affect you at all. You'll still claim negative gearing. You'll still get your 50% capital gains tax discount, so it's not a huge issue. But for those of you who are looking to buy or own a second-hand property, well, what's going to happen is the cost of ownership is going to go up significantly there. So rather than being able to claim any deductions and the overall negative gearing against your own personal income, that's no longer allowed. So I would suggest that a lot of property investors are going to see their costs of ownership maybe jump up by maybe $100 to $200 per week. So if your property was costing you $100 a week before, well, it's probably going to cost you $300 a week now to own that same property. And that can, that you're looking at about a $15,000 a year cost of ownership there. Now, it goes even further that when you go to sell that property, no longer you're entitled to your capital gains tax discount. You do get some indexing, but you're really going to be paying tax at the full rate on your gain there. So, it's not great for secondhand property owners or for those who are looking to buy a secondhand property. For those of you who are getting new properties, that's okay. Now, the question then is to be asked is, well, how's that going to affect the market? Is there going to be a mass exodus from property into shares? What a lot of people don't realize is that the same rules are now applying to shares as well. So if you buy shares and you're negatively gearing those shares, that's no longer allowed. And also the capital gains tax discount will no longer be available on share portfolios as well. So I can't see there being a massive exodus from property investment into shares. Where the changes will come from the market is this. No longer are investors going to buy second-hand properties. And this is what Labor's really about. What they want to do is they want to leave the pool of second-hand properties available to mums and dads and owner-occupiers. Thus, what they believe will happen is that will increase the supply to the market. What Labor is hoping to do is all of those investors who are looking to buy a second-hand property or own a second-hand property will now look at buying new, okay? Because if you're an investor, there's no way you're going to be buying a second-hand property at the moment because of the fact it's going to cost you too much to hold that asset. So the idea is that people will buy, or investors will now go to new property. It will increase stock coming onto the market, increase supply, and therefore make a price adjustment there. That's what the hope is. So whether that actually works or not remains to be seen. So what would you be recommending as an investor? Well, money has to go somewhere. If somebody's earning $300,000 a year as an income and their yearly costs are $200,000, well, they have $100,000 excess that they've got to be putting somewhere. It's either going to go into property or it's going to go into shares. Now, property is still a fantastic investment but you have to work within the rules. You have to understand that secondhand property is no longer a viable solution. The government has made that clear. So what investors are now going to be doing is going to new properties, more or less solely. Now, I think that there's going to be a bit more of a push towards high-yielding investments rather than your standard four-bedroom, two-bathroom home. I think a lot of investors will now go for things like dual occupancies, duplexes, rooming accommodation assets, and typically high-yielding brand-new investment properties. I think that there will be a little bit of a market correction insofar as second-hand properties goes because of the fact that you're effectively removing half of the investor market from that, and they will now go to new properties. So I think that the idea behind what Labor is doing, it sounds amazing because of the fact that they think it's going to increase supply. I really personally think it's a bit of a money grab, but investors, the rules have been made. We've got to work within those rules. So what would you suggest? Well, you're certainly not going to be buying secondhand. You want to be going with new property only. Whether you start putting money into shares is not going to make any difference at all because they're under the same rules as well. I think that there could be a little bit of a push towards keeping property in self-managed super funds where the rules haven't changed. There are some good capital gains, tax discounts and tax implications with that. If you would like to know any more about it, how it's going to affect you as an investor, look, please feel free to get in touch with the office and we can explain that to you. But yeah, I think that the rules, they're there. We've got to work within those. And so it's a case of just maybe changing strategies a little bit. I hope that helps you out, guys. Lucas Rogers from the Rogers Property Group, and I look forward to talking with you soon. Thanks.